Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a pretty profound transformation. We're looking at the journey from the absolute, exhausting chaos of survival mode right into a grounded, unshakable state of personal sovereignty. If you've ever felt completely drained, unable to focus, or like you're constantly putting out fires on a million different fronts, well, this is absolutely for you. We are going to map out exactly how to rewire that overloaded mind of yours.
Okay, let's get right into it. Picture this. Imagine the pure shock and panic of staring at a 5% on a major exam. Your stomach completely drops, your adrenaline spikes, and your brain immediately starts screaming that you just aren't good enough. But as our source material brilliantly points out, getting a 5% under intense stress isn't a measure of your capability or your intelligence. No way. It's simply the tax of a severely overloaded mind.
So here's our roadmap to guide you out of that frantic panic. We'll look at the overloaded mind, build an internal toolkit, tackle the crossroads of failure, compare push versus pull motivation, and finally talk about operating from victory. Section 1. The Overloaded Mind. Understanding your bandwidth.
Think of your brain exactly like a computer using cognitive RAM. When your brain is actively burning its RAM trying to solve massive, real-world survival problems, we're talking worrying about financial stress, fighting off intrusive thoughts, and wrestling with spiritual questions all at the exact same time, there is literally just a microscopic sliver of bandwidth left for that tiny formula on your lecture slide. You didn't fail because you couldn't learn the material. You failed because your system was completely crashing from way too many heavy applications running in the background.
Moving on to Section 2, the internal toolkit. Let's talk about building calluses. So, how do we actually fix this bandwidth issue? Well, to protect ourselves and eventually the next generation, handing everything over on a silver platter just doesn't work. Instead, we have to develop psychological calluses through an internal toolkit. This is built on 4 main pillars. First up, emotional regulation, figuring out how to manage that mental noise. Second, a failure blueprint, treating failure not as who you are, but simply as diagnostic data. Third, financial resourcefulness, realizing that scarcity is really just a puzzle to solve, not a cage to panic in. And fourth, grounded faith, having a spiritual foundation that acts as a deep anchor in a storm rather than a frantic boxing match.
I absolutely love this analogy for that first pillar. When you're sitting in that exam room, external noise just floods your internal space. But here's the thing, you have a choice. You do not have to board that anxiety train. This is the whole essence of emotional regulation. Teaching yourself how to ground yourself in the present moment when the noise in your head becomes completely deafening.
Section 3. The Crossroads of Failure. What exactly happens next?
Let's apply philosopher Jim Rohn's concepts to that 5% exam grade you're theoretically holding in your hand. Right after a failure, you're standing at a crossroads. Option A is entering what we'll call the club, where you basically use the bad grade to beat yourself up, which, you guessed it, just loops you right back into stressful survival mode. Or there's option B, taking a seat in the classroom. Here, you analyze the data completely neutrally. You realize the lesson wasn't that you're bad at the subject, the real lesson was that an anxious, financially stressed brain simply cannot retain information. Your peace of mind has to be protected before you even step foot into that exam room.
Section 4. Push versus pull motivation. It's time to swap out your fuel. If you've ever felt a sudden, massive crash in your energy right after a stressful event, well, that's actually a design feature of the human brain, not a bug. Tony Robbins perfectly explains this. Right after seeing that 5%, you probably blasted through your lecture notes using push motivation. You were running on premium, high-octane survival fuel, pushing yourself with fear, anger, or shame just to escape the ghost of that failing grade. But here's the catch. By definition, that fuel burns incredibly hot, it burns fast, and it relies on finite willpower. Eventually, your tank is just going to run empty.
So to achieve true sovereignty, you need to swap that out for pull motivation. This is the kind of sustainable fuel created when you desire a future so vividly that it literally pulls you right toward it. Think about the desire to build a strong blueprint for your future, or maybe for a future child. That kind of vision taps into a totally bottomless well of energy. It's rooted in love and contribution, rather than just frantically running away from fear.
Section 5. Operating from victory. Stepping into profound alignment.
This brings us to our final big shift, moving away from frantic human striving. The Psalm 68:11 framework acts as a fantastic anchor here. When you stop trying to manufacture all the strength, the intelligence, and the wealth entirely by yourself, the dynamic completely changes.
the pressure just shifts right off your shoulders. You go from having to be the powerhouse generating all the electricity to simply being the pipe that the water flows through. You find your purpose, your company of people passing down wisdom. And as we just covered, this becomes the absolute ultimate pull motivation.
And the crucial point here is this: stop fighting for victory and start operating from victory. You really don't need anger or panic to fuel you when you are perfectly aligned with a higher purpose or a divine mandate. That mandate pulls you forward with hope, not shame. You're no longer fighting this desperate battle for a win on 4 different fronts. You're standing in a company of victory, operating directly from it.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a vision. We've talked about protecting your mental RAM, building up your internal toolkit, choosing the classroom over the club, and letting your future truly pull you forward. So what specific word, vision, or identity is pulling you forward right now, way beyond just surviving your next test? What does the version of you who has actually mastered this look like? Take that question with you today, and I'll see you in the next one.